What's going on YouTube? This is the Alphonsus D team Gradelock. We got ourselves another deck profile. This time the first place champion team deck profile of
Mama John, aka who cares? It's not a secret identity anymore. Fuzzy Paradox. There we go.
I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man. Hi guys. So something crazy kind of happened over the weekend, and we have Team Gradelock. Dan, Alphonsus, and myself entered standard, and we kind of did something. We took first place.
Again.
Crazy, absolutely insane. Like I still can't believe it. Like I woke up today and I'm like, did we really just do that? And they're like, yeah, we kind of did it again. And like, to be fair, I think this was one of the, at the time of this recording at least, this was one of the largest standard events to date. So just to say that we got first place is super cool. And I'm going to show you guys the deck that I took for standard, explain my reasoning for everything here, and all that good stuff. And of course guys, as always, if you do like and enjoy these style of content, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to these videos, as it does help the channel, and we greatly appreciate it. But with that being said, let me go ahead and break down my first place list for Gravidia World. Alright, so I'm going to start out with the ride line, because I think it will help understand a majority of how the deck is going to be functioning. So, of course, our main Grade 3 ride is going to be Gravidia Nordlinger. Amazing card in this format. The ability to just sack a multitude of your rocks, and then that transforms into crit pressure, power pressure, retiring your opponent's board, draw power, all in one card, essentially. It is nuts. It's crazy. Yeah, and then that on top of a Persona Ride turn, on top of Magnolia, it just makes this card, this deck in general is so much pressure, and normally the play to make is like sack 5 meteors on turn 1, hope for the best, and if you drop critical triggers on your opponent, you're blowing them out of the water. Yeah, so I do run that as my main grade 3, and I love it. It's amazing. It's so good. And then to follow that up, so we run the Orphis lineup to go with it. So I run Cubicia as my grade 2. Reason why is because I do play the Shadow Moon Knight order card in order to generate myself a Shadow Army token, and that on turn 2, combinating this with Cubicia giving the Shadow Army token the additional 5k, making it a 20k number. So on my grade 1, on my grade 2 turn, it makes a magic number a harder guard threshold for my opponent, and able to be very aggro with my opponent in that sense, making it being able to be my last attack. And because it is my last attack, even if they check a defensive, most of the time it will still proc over that defense, asking for another guard or asking for them to take another damage. So very good to help push in the early game, and amazing as a booster in the late game in combination with Burrito, which is your another amazing grade 3 that you play in this deck. And then after that, you do play the Brutus as your grade 1 ride deck. Just, you know, he's here just to help you get the order card, nothing more. There's no other situation where you would run him, but yeah, fetches you what you need in order to make this deck function as it does. And then lastly, you know, just the standard D starter, you know, Orphis starter, because why not? I'm not trying to hide anything. Alright, and then for grade 3s now. So main grade 3 was Gravidia Nordlinger, as I explained earlier, broken card, super amazing, and of course, you know, run it at 4 because this Persona Ride turn equals GG. And then of course, to follow that up, we also played 4 copies of Burrito. Burrito is super good, because a lot of times in the early game you're going to be pitching your meteors as your cost for ride deck, and then with Burrito, if you have it back, you can just call it and then immediately get that Burrito back. So a good play would be something like pitch your grade 2 meteor, so it's not a super dead card in your hand in the early game, and call Burrito, so +1, grab the Burrito and grab the meteor, put it back into the order zone, and then you're good to go from there. And then, of course, you know, the plus 5k is always nice, because on a Persona Ride turn, he's 28k by himself, and then putting this with a Shadow Army token makes it a 43k column, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then if you, one play I like telling Dan is one play that I love doing is that if I can do it, crit pressure from the inherit crit from Burrito, on top of being able to do Shadow Army token boost on a Persona Ride turn with Gravidia, and then if I check a crit, being able to basically put a double crit on this with my opponent at 3, either asking for a PG or completely getting everything out of their hand in order for them to guard the attack, otherwise they die. So, you know, kind of like throws your opponent off guard. So, very powerful card, definitely at a 4 of. That is a must. Okay, so now we're going to go into the grade 2s, and for a lot of Gravidia World players or just Gravidia players in general, I do see a lot of people play a mixed ratio of sorts when it comes to the grade 2s. I played in a specific way that matches my play style a little more. I'm going to start out with Stanner. So I play 3 copies of Stanner. Very good generic card because, you know, by itself, easy 15k beater, and then if I need to, it's a 10k shield, and 10k shield in this meta matter a lot, especially against something like Magnolia. I don't run it as a 4 of because, unfortunately, Stanner isn't as powerful in the early game, and this deck really thrives on doing well in the early game, so I try to compensate for that. But still, in the late game, it's still very powerful. And if you want to run it at 4, you're more than welcome to do so, but I'm perfectly comfortable with it at 3, and it did very well for me overall. So continuing on, we play 3 copies of Gravidia Barrier, the main grade 2 ride deck target, but we actually run it as a rearguard target. The fun interactions that I like having with this is that if I need to, I can ride it as my main grade 2 ride, but a lot of cases it's not needed because the rearguard, it works on rearguard as well. Very nice if you have it in the opening hand. It being a 15k and a free draw by itself is super good because if you see 2 meteors in your opening hand, normal play is you're going to pitch 1 meteor for your ride deck, and then you're going to play a grade 1 meteor on your grade 1 turn, immediately soul charge, so you have the soul to compensate for this, so it's once again a 15k beater and making magic numbers on a grade 2 push turn. Yeah, very solid card, very good. And then the more controversial card I currently see at the moment, so 2 copies of Shurgo. A lot of people, when it comes to this particular card, they either run only 1 copy of it or they don't run it at all. I think Shurgo is an amazing card. Okay, I don't care what people are saying about it. I think it's absolutely crazy in this deck because I think a lot of people, how they're thinking how to play this particular card is they're using it to cycle back in the late game when they start wasting a lot of their meteors. But one play people forget is that this also works very well in the early game because if you are drawing into so many of your grade 1 meteors and like they're just becoming dead cards in the early game, just pitch them for your ride deck, put them back with Shurgo's skill, and then they can be used again for Gravidia on the following turn, and in itself becomes a 15k beater in the early game, and it's an axe. So I really, really like this card. I'm perfectly comfortable with it at 2, and I think people are just underestimating it. Shurgo is just too good. It's amazing. It was one of the MVPs in my deck during the tournament, 100%. And then lastly, to wrap up, and now for the grade 2 orders. So I play 1 copy of the Eclipse Moonlight because it is called Gravidia World for a reason. This is the world card that you play, and it generates you that Shadow Army token to just make magic numbers and just beat your opponent with a large amount of pressure. And then the last grade 2 order card I run is the grade 2 Meteor card because, yeah, it counts as 2 meteors, and when you need to pop for 5, it does the job. And then for grade 1s, you run 6 copies of the grade 1 Meteor. Amazing when you run into Gravidia, you slap 2 of these onto the board from your deck and you draw 2 cards because you know that, and then that with a Persona Ride turn, drawing 3 cards is just free. Yeah, amazing, super good. Just plus, lots and lots of plus, no minus. And then, you know, last grade 1s, I do run just 4 more PGs to wrap up my grade 1 lineup. I know a lot of people are playing Bubble Mine as well when it comes to the grade 1s. I understand the reasons why, but unfortunately for me, I just didn't have the space to run the Bubble Mines because my game plan was just to be a lot of pressure, and I just needed cards to compensate for that pressure in the early game. So unfortunately, Bubble Mine did have to go out. If you feel more comfortable running Bubble Mine, by all means, feel free to do so. But at the moment, and for the tournament, it worked really well for me without it. So keep that in mind if you will. All right, lastly, for the trigger lineup. So trigger lineup, I think, is actually very self-explanatory. There's just kind of one little difference. So of course we run the 1 over trigger because, guys, over triggers are amazing. They're so good for this game. Oh my god, they're great. I love over triggers. 1 to pass? Yeah, sure, here you go. Yay, that's 1 to pass. Realistically though, this on a freaking Gravidia World Sack 5, it's just GG to your opponent. They can't come back from it. It's busted. 4 heals because, you know, I hear running heal triggers and living is a very good tactic, so try doing that if you can, guys. And then, yeah, then to wrap up that, I'm actually running 8 critical triggers. And I know I do not run the effect Inkasol critical triggers. Reason being is that the 5k matters in a lot of situations and more than you think. And the 4k doesn't compensate, and the additional 2k to additional rearguard doesn't compensate as much as you think it does, whereas opposed to this behind a burrito making a magic number on a Persona Ride turn being 23. Yeah, so it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game at the end of the day, just to guess is the TLDR there. And then lastly, 3 fronts. I know it's like a back and forth when it comes to the Gravidia World lineup. It's like, do you run draws or do you run fronts? Personally, I like running fronts because if I have a full aggro turn, and if I flip a double front, it's not plus 10k, it's plus 20k to everything. And there are situations where I draw so much from my meteors that if I draw any more, I'm going to deck out. So I'd rather not deck out at the best of 1. That's always feels bad. And yeah, that was my deck. Overall, the deck performed amazingly, and I'm going to tell you guys this because I'm now going to tell you guys all of the games that I played today, yesterday. You guys will be so surprised at all of my rounds. Oh, yes, you will. So, for standard, round 1, I fought Prison. Surprisingly, this deck does not do, well, actually, the deck can do well against Prison. Unfortunately, I kind of bricked and I misplayed. I was a little nervous round 1, and I forgot to play my grade 1 Meteor turn 1. Therefore, I couldn't Soul Charge. Therefore, I couldn't do Shurgo's effect. So I kind of lost a lot of pressure there on my opponent, and then my opponent just steamrolled me over with a double crit prison swing. So that was unfortunate, but Alphonsus and Dan took their games, so we were good there. And then round 2, I fought Magnolia. I won against Magnolia, and unfortunately, I believe Dan and Alphonsus lost their games. But yeah, Magnolia to me was just the tip of the iceberg, because round 3 I fought against Magnolia, and I managed to win that, and the team won that as well. So congrats to them there. And then round 4 I fought Magnolia, and I won that matchup, and the team managed to take it there. So we were good there. And then round 5 I fought Bruce, and that was actually an amazing game. Very back and forth. It literally came down to the Bruce player having 2 cards left in his deck, and one of them being the Over Trigger. And if he had 1 additional card left, if he had 3 cards left in his deck and he flipped that Over Trigger, I was dead to rights, because he had not only his Bruce being a crit pressuring Vanguard because of his grade 3, but he was also playing Eden, so he had 2 crit pressure rear guards on me being at 4 damage, completely blowing me out of the water. But I just managed to take it because I compensated for a perfect guard in my early game guard. Round 6 I fought Magnolia. I managed to win that game, and I think the team won that as well, so we were good there. And then we made it to top 8. And then top 8 I fought against Magnolia, and I lost that one unfortunately, but thankfully Alphonsus and Dan got their game. And then top 4 I fought against Magnolia, and managed to win that game, and the team got that as well. And in finals, I fought Magnolia, and I managed to win that game again. Moral of the story is, guys, I think there's more than one deck in Overdress, and it's not Magnolia, but I wouldn't know that because all I fought out of my 9 games 7 of them were Magnolia. And you would naturally think that, yeah, I think Prison has a bad Magnolia matchup, right? Because of end pigs, because they put Inlet Pulse. No, you don't care about that, guys. Just sack Meteors. Constantly create lots of pressure, and then they have to start ditching combo pieces. Okay? Or just be like me and be a cool kid and actually like make them damage check their combo pieces, because yeah, that's nuts.
You've done that several times.
Yeah. I will add one thing though, my top 8 match was probably my toughest my top 4 match was my toughest Magnolia matchup by far, and he didn't even ride into Magnolia. Oh, okay. The strategy there, he just spammed Pantheras, and he couldn't draw into Magnolia. Oh, that was unfortunate. But yeah, that's the deck profile, guys. Overall, the deck did amazing. Apparently has a very good Magnolia match. And yeah, I'm very happy for another top. So that's another top in the books for your boy, and then another top for the team, for Team Gradelock. And we're, very happy. We're very ecstatic. We have probably a few more deck profiles after this one. So stay tuned, guys. And yeah, Deuces!